Hey everyone, this is Ben, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about something that a few people have asked me, which is to do with creating a backstory for your player character. Now we're all used to, at this point, hearing characters like Critical Role, where they've got these elaborate backstories that are all intertwined with each other and the history of the world, and I think there's a sense that if you're not able to come up with something of that level, you're not doing it right. So I would like to put that to rest a little bit. Whatever backstory you come up with for your player character is fine. As long as you are enjoying playing the character and everyone else is enjoying playing with that character, there is nothing wrong with just doing the basics. You want to be the orphan from the village that was burned down by orcs or by bandits? You want to go on that revenge story? Sure, go for it. That gives the DM loads to work with. Every time you encounter an orc, a goblin, a gnoll, whatever it is that is your kind of racial enemy, there's loads of role-playing to be done there, and that's really nice as a DM to just have something simple to work with. So don't be too afraid of making use of cliched concepts. We've all done it, and it makes for a fun game. So don't feel like, what's the word, like lit-shamed. Don't feel like you have to be this amazing author just to enjoy playing a game. And on that note, don't write too much detail. Don't spend ages and ages writing, paragraphs and paragraphs about the places that your character has been and the people that they've met and the relationships they had with this person, and this tavern keeper was nice to them, but this shopkeeper was certainly at the beginning, especially if you're new. Come up with the basics and get going. If you want to add that stuff in later, sure, go for it. You can decide 3, 4, 5, 10 weeks into a campaign, I want this to be in my backstory. And if you just tell the DM, they're going to be fine with it. One thing that you could maybe do to ground your character or to give them a sense of uniformity and a sense of being is to center them around an object or a location. So there could be an object that they either possess or that they want. I'm going to use an example of one of my characters. So I started with the character Jord, who is a half-orc wizard. And his weapon at the beginning of the game was a sickle, because I decided that he sort of would have almost been this kind of witch doctor-y sort of character within the half-orcs that he was living with. Because a wizard would have been very rare and they wouldn't have necessarily had the equipment for one or known what to deal with one. So he used a sickle until he found something slightly better. He ended up with a magical dagger, and actually he doesn't really use much anyway. I had this kind of idea in my mind of what this weapon looked like and the sort of the carved bone handle. And even if you never ever use it, just having an object that they like can be quite useful.
Like a miniature giant space hamster. I mean, how cool is a miniature giant space hamster? This wasn't even a useful item. It actively took away from the usefulness of the character because it took away an item slot. But nevertheless, miniature giant space hamster.
Go for the eyes, Boo! Go for the eyes! Run!
And you can also use ideas from other things like, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones. You can pick and choose and just take bits of characters that you like. No one's going to stop you. There's no rules against just being whoever you want to be. You could, if you wanted to, spend a little bit of time developing, alignment for this character or things that have happened in the past and family and all these things and siblings and rivalries. Or you could work with the assumption that actually a level 1 D&D character at the start of the game is basically fresh off the boat. They've had a little bit of training in their particular class skills. That's it. Not really much else has happened to them. So wouldn't it be interesting, rather than coming up with this big elaborate backstory and writing this all in, if you just allowed backstory to come naturally through gameplay? So this is how I would approach doing something like that. You have a basic character, so let's go as generic as possible. Let's make a human fighter, okay? So, Fighty McPuncherson. Human fighter. He's just a man with a sword. He's hired by someone to go and fight and punch people, right? Along the way, the things that happen to him during that adventure become that character's backstory. In order to create a believable character by doing this, you'd need to have some sort of moral situations come up in gameplay, not just straight combat situations. So there's a scene in Game of Thrones, I can't remember which series, but I will put that somewhere on the screen, which is where Arya is with the Hound and they visit a cottage out in the wilderness, and there's a father there and his daughter, and they provide food. Let's say that Fighty McPuncherson in this situation is the Hound. Now in that situation, in that scene, he decides to rob them because, and this is paraphrasing slightly, but they're going to die anyway, and you might as well make the most of what there is to have, because when they die, anything that they have will go to someone else. So why shouldn't I have it? Fighty McPuncherson could instead decide, I will stay and protect these people, and I will help them farm, and I will give them money so that they can survive, and I will provide them my resources. And that's quite an interesting bit of backstory. And then you can continue to bring these characters in. So this is almost more of an improv drama approach to character creation, which is to say that you make a decision on the fly, or you make a decision based on a reaction to what someone else has done, or a reaction to something that the DM has provided, and then you stick with it. That's your character. So in this same game where I have this wizard, a player who had never played D&D before in his life, he rolled up a fighter. And I actually mentioned this on a live stream I did a little while ago, but the very first thing we come across was a well with a shiny object at the bottom, and the first thing he did was just dive in and try and get it. And yeah, he ended up in a fight, and we ended up losing a bunch of hit points, but it was really fun. And in that, we sort of decided that his character was this reckless guy who would just throw himself into situations and see what happened. And that thread has followed through the rest of the campaign. Like, if there's ever a situation where something's a little bit, maybe, he'll be straight in there. And in fact, when we found the deck of many things, straight in there. That was, it didn't go so well for my character. I lost 4 intelligence points, and I'm a wizard. Oh. No, I'm not bitter about that. I'm not. I think what this allows you to do is to go into the game without this big weight of backstory of, oh, I have to mention this, I have to bring this up, I have to do this. And instead you can just let character come through the way that you portray them. So let me know what you think then about some of my ideas. I'd love to hear about your character backstories as well, if you've come up with anything interesting, or if you've got any interesting ways that you've found to help create character backstories. Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, as always, a like is really appreciated so that I know that you like what I'm doing. And if you want to see more videos coming up, whether it's D&D, gaming, TV, film, or anything else, hit the subscribe button and join me on this cool journey we seem to be going on. More D&D stuff on the way, but until then, I'll see you later.